So we talked about troubleshooting login issues most of the time. So when on the profile we say, okay, how many times a user should be allowed to log in, try to log in with wrong password. If we say, okay, 5 times or 6 times and user tries more than that, potentially the user will be locked out from the system, and they should, even after that, if they try to use the right password, they won't be able to log in. So those are the settings that we set up on the profile. We will, so usually, to get away with those login issues, so we talk about some network passwords, single sign-on, even the MFA, the thing that we have seen last class. So those will help because you don't need to enter password, you don't need to remember password, and those are the things. Sometimes, we have seen the typical issues, if we can't find answers by ourselves, always we can reach out to Salesforce, and they should be able to support us. And we also looked at the context-based help, how it helps to find some answers, or maybe setup. When we are in setup, if we don't know how to set up a few things, we can always go to context-based help right there. So if we click that one, it will take you to the configuration related documentation. We can find some answers, and obviously Google, and there are other ways you can reach out another the Salesforce forum, so they can also help if we ask some questions. So we also looked at the sandboxes, how many sandboxes, what type of sandboxes are available, all that stuff, and also how the typical deployment lifecycle would work. High level we talked about that, but on advanced admin topics we can go a little deeper into that. So next one, what we want to do. So we created org. So we haven't really set that org for the real users to work on. So typically when we get an org, so what are the things that we expect the org to have? So maybe can you guys name some of those things that we expect, some features in the org? Like typically when we have different users, what are the things that we may need to set up? Anything you can think of, please say it.
Different users have different authority level, right? Like
yeah. So yeah, different. Different users have different use cases. We need to set up the system accordingly. And also, let's say a user. The company can have users across the globe. That means they will be in different countries. So that means we may need to enable them for different time zones, and they may be speaking different languages. So we need to enable different language options, and so they also will be using different currencies. So we need to enable multi-currency. That way, every user, there will be global. Let's say every company will be global, or most of the companies will be global, and they have a corporate currency, and they also will have local currencies. So let's say when we have a company here, and if the company has some child companies in India, Canada, so wherever it is, so the users in that country, so they want to see the prices or everything in their country related currency. So like that, different countries will have different requirements, and especially Canada. So sometimes they mandate stuff in Canada. So you have to have English and also the French. Quebec side, when you go, it is a mandatory for any organization to have the support for their language. So you cannot simply give English and expect everybody to work in English. So I mean some of those, and also there is something called fiscal year. Not every company follows January to December financial years. Some companies follow October to October, October to September, and so like that. I mean, each company have different requirements. We need to set up the system to accommodate all those things, and obviously everybody needs different types of user interface. One, maybe some people want to see some information, some people, the organization itself, they don't want everybody to see some secured information. We have to control that. And everybody, I mean, especially on the sales side, everybody wants to have some activities, and they should be able to sync calendars and all. And so the search, when they do global search, how the fields will come, so those things they want to be able to uh, localize the way that they want to see. And obviously every different users will have, sales users want to have some charter groups only for sales people, and service people wants to have service, and also some higher level people, they may want to have collaboration between themselves. They may be managers and directors and VPs, etc. And obviously, everyone should be able to access the system through their mobile. So, I mean, the company profile is very critical one, so that we set up, and we set up local. There is something called local, and local would come with currency and also the language settings, time zone, and all. And so we will have a corporate address that we can set up on the organization, and the fiscal years we can set up, and also the business hours. So each company may have business hours in each time zone, so we have to adjust all those things. And holidays, each company may have different holidays according to that, so they should be able to configure those. And yeah, we talked about this enhanced profile list view just for admins. This will be handy. And the personal settings. So there will be organization-wise settings. We will say, okay, now my company is in West Coast, so basically my company address is that, and the company's currency is so and so US dollars. But on the personal level, they should be able to control what language, what time zone they belongs to, and I mean, email settings. We didn't talk about it. Every charter post that you get, we typically send an email automatically. That way you don't have to log into Salesforce to check your charter. You would automatically, for every post, you can configure however you want to. Based on those settings, you will receive emails in your Outlook, or maybe your email application, instead of you going into Salesforce. And yeah, so subscription are also similar one. And yeah, we will go through this in the system. And also currency is very important one. So let's say the rates are ever changing. Maybe currency on the US dollar, maybe the rate might not be, I mean, when you are working in the US currency, whether it doesn't matter whether the value goes down or not, dollar value goes up, goes down, because you are always talking about one currency. But let's say the moment a company is dealing in multiple countries, and there will be always the currency rate fluctuations. So some days maybe Canadian dollar is maybe 1.5 times of US dollar, sometimes it is 1.25. But when a deal is closed, or when our opportunity is closed, if we can't lock that price, maybe I mean, sometimes business want to lock that price, and that's where this currency would come in. Advanced currency management would come in handy. What it does, it will basically let you set the price or conversion rate by the time. So basically you won't lock it all the time, but based on your time, let's say from November 1st onwards, okay, let's say this is the currency rate, and maybe from now December 1st onwards, the currency rate will be different. And you can do it, I believe, by either week, or maybe I don't know whether we can do it by date. We can check it in the system. And so some of these questions, these are from Chatter. I asked you to read some Chatter posts. Mostly we will go through, we will take Chatter as requirements. So, and also please take a look at this org hierarchy. So John Weissman, he is a VP or VP or CEO of the company that we are working on on our orgs. So this guy is asking, okay, do we have enough licenses for international sales teams? So if we, as an admin, we should be able to answer, okay, how many licenses we have, and how many licenses are we using, and how many are left over. And so immediately when that guy asked the question to the admin, so immediately the HR person came in. Lingu is HR VP. So she asked, and we add users. And as we add users, we make sure correct language and date settings for users outside of the US. So basically, the company is a US-based company, and when we are adding other users, we need to make sure we enable other languages, and also we enable the currencies and all. So that's what she's asking. And another question, so Brent, I believe he's, I think, sales VP or somebody. Now that we are getting on all of our sales team on board, could you please ensure the following? So the fiscal year. So his company, he wants to make sure the fiscal year starts from January and in December. And international sales reps need to be able to generate quotes and populate opportunity in the customers' own currencies. So they are asking us to set up the multi-currency as well in the system. And so they want to enable euro, yen, and basically the exchange rates also. And then potentially once the admin confirms, okay, hey, we set up the currencies, and that's where he is asking again, can you update the exchange rates on weekly basis? So now we need to get into that advanced currency management, and we need to set up those things. So now let's go back to the system, and let's check those. I mean, before that, let me, I think I covered this one. There is a corporate currency, USD, and there are user currencies every user can set up. And again, on the record level, you can set up currency. You can set up means you can select currencies. So let's say this user, maybe user one, who is an international sales rep. Maybe he can work in US, and he also, let's assume that he also works in either Canada or Japan. At that time, even when he is creating the record, so it doesn't matter whether who is creating it. It is always with the customer. If the customer is in Japan, so we need to create, it's better to create the record in Japan currency. And whether it is US, even user personal currency is USD. So that's the better norm. And the end of the day, so we should be always, when the head office runs any reports or anything, we should be able to see the results in US dollars. So you create a record in Japan currency or euros or maybe pound, but we should be able to see the reports, everything accumulated into US dollars, because the corporate currency is US dollar. So yeah, let's look at those in the system. So first he asked, so how many licenses we have. So I hope we have seen this one already. So do you know where to check the licenses?
Company information.
Yeah. So under company information, we will see how many licenses we got. So typically these are the licenses, Salesforce licenses. So by default, this org came up with 54 license and 51 licenses are already used. If you see here, user licenses 51 and we have 4 licenses left over. And there are other types of licenses. The Salesforce license is kind of powerful license, but it costs more money. But there are charter licenses. So these are usually when organizations buy, these come for less price. But the thing is, they can do a lot of stuff. They can collaborate. They can use charter for that. And these are external users. Potentially, if we want to bring in any of your customers onto to chat with us, these are employees, Salesforce and charter free. And these are customers. If you want to allow customers, potentially you can have 500 customers, and these are 500 charter users of your organization. So that's how you can see how many licenses we can leverage. And sometimes in order for you, let's say if anybody leaves the company, and as long as the user is active, this one will still take that license. There is no way in Salesforce you can delete the user. And the only thing that you can do in Salesforce, you can deactivate the user. That way, once you deactivate, you get one license back, and potentially you will, let's say if you want to deactivate 10 users, and immediately, so this one will always be 55 because that's the licenses we bought, or the organization and Salesforce has given. Here user licenses, then count will go down to another 10. So that means you will be at 41, and you will have 14 licenses to be used. You can create more users. So that's how you manage licenses for organizations. So that is very key, especially for big organizations. So if they have 10,000 users or something, and people are coming in, going out, so there should be a process to deactivate the user. Otherwise, Salesforce would keep charging us for that money. For those number of licenses that we use. Salesforce always charges by the number of licenses that we use. So that's that guy, and here are some of those things. So there is this currency and default local. So this is the one. So basically, even though there is some English, and there are different Englishes here. So and so you can set up whatever the country where the head office is. Based on that, you can set up the country, and the language, whatever language, the default language of the organization. So the head office one, and wherever you want to set up your users, and the default time zone. So let's say if I set it up for Chicago time, when I try to create a user, by automatically it will come with the time zone, but it defaults the time zone for the user. And but we can change it. But that is one advantage by setting the right time zone. Let's say most of your employees are going to be in Pacific time. Instead of all the time you remembering that one, so you better set that default time zone as this guy. And when you can freely create user, and so for some reason if any outliers are there, they can always set the time zone differently. Or maybe when we build integration, we need to make sure we populate the time zone of the user properly from the HR application. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, so I saw some internet issue. So that's the address, and those are the local settings. And the primary contact. So this is one thing that Salesforce kind of they call some designated contacts and all. So based on this, so they'll check, okay, are you the primary designated contact of this company? Based on that, you will have some leverage. So what are the things that you can do on behalf of this company with Salesforce kind of thing?
You're breaking up now.
Yes.
You broke up
I
there.
I can hear you clearly without issues.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure my network. Yeah, so those are the company level settings that we can do. Let me. So then there is currency setup. So let's look at currency setup. And by default, this R came with Euro. I mean, they enabled few currencies, Euro, Japan, and these things. So let's say if we want to add some Canadian currency, let's say. So currency type. So they give you all these options. We just need to select. So CAD, so Canadian dollar. And I say it's, I mean, the current conversion rate, maybe we look at the rates, and I'll say $1 is 1.5 Canadian dollars. So that's how we set up that one. And so before that, let's also go into Salesforce and create one opportunity. So let's set this opportunity close date as maybe November 30th in the month end, and we'll set up this guy as prospective. So this is where, I mean, we by default, my currency must have set to USD. So that's why this one came automatically for USD. And we'll let's create this one using Canadian dollar, and let's save this one. Obviously, we need to select which account this one is for. So we set up that one. We created an opportunity, but we selected Canadian dollar, and we did not enter the amount. Let's enter some amount. So let's say, I mean, even when you are writing the currencies, let's say if you want to enter 1 million, so you have to remember how many zeros and all. So you don't need to do that. So basically, you can simply say M, and that will basically add you the zeros. And the same thing with the K, those things. So immediately you see here, so I created the opportunity with reference to Canadian dollar, but my organization currency is US dollar. But we also entered 1.5 is the conversion rate. So that's why it came like 666,000 US dollars. I mean, in the brackets, it is showing that one. So now we created this guy. So let's say, let's go back to the currency. So I'll change this guy to some other conversion rate. So edit rates, and Canadian dollar, I'll say, where is Canadian dollar? Yeah, so right here, the first one. So let's say I'll say this one has $1.25, 1.25 as currency rate. So now if I just reload the page, it should actually take okay, maybe that is taking at that point of time, I think. Let's create one more opportunity and see whether that one will take the conversion rate as per the new thing. So let's select the same date, 130. prospecting, and here and say 1 million, and again I will select Canadian dollar. The enter that Canadian dollar. This looks good. Yeah, ideally it should immediately change the rate. I mean, even for the existing one, immediately it should take the currency rate according to, I mean, 1.2 basically. I mean, it should divide by 1.25 and show this number correctly. Not sure why it is. I mean, there we haven't enabled the dates yet. Yes. Okay, so here I think it is taking it from here. Canadian dollar new exchange rate, so jump to 11.4. So this is taking from this date to this date. Okay, next so 11.4 we our opportunity closing date is 11:30. Let's yeah, let's change this guy to so yeah, let's adjust this rate.
Is this like weekly?
Yeah, I'm checking this guy. So basically start date, it is giving the start date. So let's say if we create new exchange rate, yeah, we have to say start date, and let's say 11:30. Let's start date as 11:30. Say 11:30, and we will select 1.25 here or 1.2 whatever we were giving. Let's save this guy. And so what we did, so 11:30, so we said 11:30 we said it is 1.25. Now let's go back and see if we yeah, so now it basically I enabled the advanced currency before when I was checking this guy, so that's why I mean it kind of logged that one. And the moment I change this guy on 11:30, I want to change the rate to 1.25. So that's when it is taking that one into consideration. And so if it is, I mean, before 11:30, let's change the date to 11:29 and see how this one works. Yeah, so it is going back to the original price. Basically, I already enabled this advanced currency based on the date, and on the date it says, okay, so on so and so date, starting that date, so this is the currency rate I want to apply. And before that, I mean, that's how you control. And I believe let's do one more thing. So now we are saying 11:30 is 1.25, and we let's apply on December 1st, immediately the next day. let's bring it back to 1.5. So let's say that one. And now the opportunity, let's say if I, yeah, let's reload this guy first. So this shouldn't change because on that day it's still 1.5. And when we change this opportunity to 30, because on that day we said, okay, it is 1.2%, 1.2 times. Basically, we are saying Canadian dollar got stronger. And now again, we will change this date to the December 1st, and immediately it should go back to the original. Yeah, so it went back to original price. That's how we manage the currencies. And there will be, I mean, this is very crucial for some companies. They maintain these currency rates by reading whatever the standard, wherever the standard is there. So basically, they will have some integrations every day. They will apply those rates maybe every day in the morning or something. That way, they manage all those currency rates. And they build some integration because admin can't go in, put in all these currency rates every day, so there will be typically some integrations. You take it, the conversion rates automatically, some integration runs every morning or something, and that apply those rates, and everything would work seamlessly.
Srikanth, so on the company information, you had the same thing, right? So
yeah, company information. So I mean, for your organization, because you didn't make any change, you have seen this thing. So when I went in here, so first you don't see these things. Basically, you must have seen on your org. So manage currency when you go in. So do you want to enable this guy? So right now, since I enable advanced currency, I have to disable. So on your thing, maybe first time when you go in, so you have an option to disable, I mean enable. And when you go to company information, so there is the straightforward currency. You maintain straightforward currency in here, and you maintain one time rate. And most probably you may not that is not sufficient for you all the time, because conversion rates are always flexible. I mean, changing, ever changing. You might end up going into advanced currency mode, and you enable that one and you put in the rates. Yeah, you have two options. One here, if you think, okay, I don't want to change anything dated, you can stop right here. But mostly, if you enable this one, you may want to enable the other option also.
okay. So most probably we'll end up using dated ones, right?
Yeah, most probably. I mean, again, it is all depending on the companies, but no company, I mean, when you are dealing with multiple countries, the rates will always change, and you better do both.
Okay. And if you go to the managed currencies, you have to hit next for each week and then see the rate set for that particular week, correct?
Yeah.
Is there a way you can list out, have a list view of it?
This one doesn't allow, but some, I mean, if there is not available, so either you can do some of these by using some custom work. I don't think they have given us an option to do this here. I mean, this is the standard page that they give. And if you want anything better than this user experience, you would end up writing your own custom page. But mostly, I mean, there will be some API. I mean, let's see if there is an API for this one. I mean, typically, this is how you find some APIs and also the developer console. So typically, it's something object. This is not currency type. So yeah, there should be one object or something. So that we need to look at, and based on that, it will check the dates and all. I mean, then based on that, you should be able to build some UI, custom UI.
Okay. And one other question. Say if say you are setting up your organization for the first time,
Mhm.
and your company is dealing with say 50 to 60 countries.
Yeah.
So how well, can we import an Excel?
Yeah, I mean you cannot. I mean this one doesn't do that thing, but typically the API they enable API. Based on the API, you should be able to load the data. Yeah, basically you prepare some CSV file. There is something called data loader in Salesforce that takes CSV file, and as long as you can figure out which object it is, and
Okay.
you should be able to load the data. I mean, that is very easy process with Salesforce to load the data.
Okay.
Let's see. I mean, most all it should be exchange rate or something. So there should be one object. Yeah. So yeah, there should be some object. I mean, there will be a lot of use cases where we need to maintain the currencies. Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen the fiscal year one. So we looked at currency, we looked at company profile, we looked at licenses, and we also looked at the languages. So we enabled multiple languages, and so let's look at the fiscal year also. So this is where, I mean, this is the start of fiscal year, start of the month. So basically he wants us to make sure, okay, January is our fiscal year, fiscal month. And I mean, that's how we set up. And if there is any company that has different start of the year, they can set up accordingly. And the reports would reflect based on the changes that we made here. And on the reports, typically you see there are options how to set up some of those currency things. So let's say if they say the created date, I want to know, okay, what is my fiscal year? Basically, the moment we set up this current fiscal year, it will take from January to December 31st because our fiscal year is starting here as January. So let's say I start this one as October, and immediately our reports, I mean, if I reload this page, so the fiscal year when I select, that will say from October time frame. Yeah, see, already it already changed. I mean, that's how I mean, it becomes very important. I mean, some companies go by fiscal year. Okay, hey, how much money did we generate in this fiscal year? Immediately, you should be able to write some report. Otherwise, if we don't have this feature, you have to manually set, okay, October is my date, and I have to set like that. And also, you see here, previous two fiscal years, maybe something like that. And next fiscal year, how do you want to do all that stuff? I mean, there are some lot of out of the box features that you can leverage very easily if you enable those that. And also you see these guys, okay, here they are talking about quarters. sometimes typically any financial company will see how much money, I mean, in this quarter, how much money we generate and all. And the reporting will become very easy if we enable these features. I mean, if we don't enable, potentially we have to write a lot of these things. October, I mean, when I say first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, again we will be like, okay, October to January is our first quarter, February to so and so is our second quarter. You have to write all those. And whereas just by changing this thing, and a lot of dynamic nature would always would come to your reports. So that's where these will become very handy.
And once you set the fiscal year, it should say that way, right? You'll not be able to change it.
No, you can always change it, but I mean, you have to go change this guy again. So when you are ready, so that's where I mean, now I changed it back to January. Now, if I go back, reload, my fiscal year should be reflecting back to January 1st.
But will there be a use case, Srikanth?
Yeah, I mean, most of the financial companies do these things. I know some companies, they don't follow January to January. So there will be companies, so they follow different quarters.
No, what I meant is like, once you set it, do they change it?
I mean, ideally, I mean, they shouldn't, right? So, I mean, it is very, I mean, for them, that is a big process. If they change any fiscal year from one month to another month and all, most of all, it is one-time thing. But there may be, I mean, if at all some senior management decides, okay, hey, why we want to do from October to October? I mean, it doesn't make much sense. If somebody says a higher level, I mean, systems should be able to support, and that's where we need to revert back. Yeah. Yeah, so basically it came back to January. Yeah, I mean, that is the fiscal year, and I believe there is a different one. So maybe I'm not quite sure. I mean, they talk about quarters. The quarters also work little differently. So let's see. I mean, I don't even know this thing well. So basically 4, 4, 5, and 13 weeks. I mean, maybe if the company's fiscal year thing is very complex, I mean, there are Salesforce support those different things. And the January to January one is called Gregorian calendar. And so basically these are different options you can apply. And here there are 13 periods and 4 weeks per period and different things basically. I mean, system has capability to do different things.
Did you say Jan to this is Gregorian calendar or anything like October to?
No, January to December is called Gregorian calendar. I think that is a generic term, so not Salesforce one. Okay.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. So I believe it is Jan. Yeah, I think it starts with January. So those are the ones basically. I mean, that's how we set up the. I mean, we looked at all these things. We looked at licenses. We looked at the languages. We looked at the fiscal year settings, and we also looked at the currency settings. I mean, these are. I mean, even though they are one-time settings, so those are very important things that we should be knowing. And we have seen this thing. And the other thing,
Because we discussed about profile, user profiles, right? Like now, user having the ability to key in multiple currencies. That's
Yeah.
been user level, right?
So yeah, user level, you can set up whatever the currency you should be setting for yourself. And so I mean, right now this company where we are on, or this org, so this has US dollars, and I can go set up my currency as a different currency. Let's set up the different currency, maybe some other, and let's look at the same opportunity that we created and see how it is going to look like. So here I have US dollar, and let's say I will go to maybe British pounds. And now if I go back, look at some of those opportunities. So see, the converted thing is going to look in your currency, whatever the currency that you set up. And so this guy is the original currency where we set up that one.
Okay. And one user can have ability to enter in only one currency, right?
Yeah, one, I mean, there is no way, I mean, you can always change your currency, I mean, because it is your user. Typically, admins would allow you to change different currencies for you, and but you cannot change anybody else currency. You should be able to, I mean, sometimes the admin won't even let you change current of your currency. I mean, it is all depending on how the organization wants to set up the users. Typically, I mean, we can allow users to set their own currency, and that way they can see the data differently or as they wish.
So at any given point, he can only have one currency.
Yeah,
Say the salesperson is traveling across the globe.
yeah. So typically only one currency. I mean, there is no option to select multiple currencies. That's why, I mean, when you are traveling to, let's say you are a customer employee and you deal with Canadian customers and also US customers, that's where you, when you are creating, I mean, you keep your currency as US dollar.
Mhm.
And because you are transacting with a Canadian customer here, when you are creating an opportunity, you enter in Canadian currency. You select the currency in Canadian, and whereas when you come back to US and if you are working with US customer, when you are creating opportunity for him, so then you would enter the US dollar. That way you will see the same thing here.
Okay, got it.
That converted amount is done because we are looking, I mean, my currency is US dollar, and I enter the record is also in US dollar, so that converted amount is gone. So those are the things in the currency, and those things maybe we can look at. I mean, if you guys are okay, we can go to the next one. Otherwise, we can meet next class.
Yeah, I think it's 11:20 EST.
Okay, yeah. So let's meet next time. I will see, maybe get familiarized with these things. And if I see any trailhead thing, I can send a post saying maybe try those things. I'm pretty sure there should be some trailhead modules. And how are we doing on the exercises that we are asking? Any issues there when you are working?
Mm.
So, I mean, anybody played with single sign-on? I mean, I may have done it some time ago.
Shrikant, I'll be doing it sometime tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that will give you some exposure to different things. So there was multi-factor one, there was single sign-on one, and there is another one, I believe, in that one batch. And also please take a look at these ones, and I will see if there is a trailhead, and I will post that one related to what we talked today.
Yeah, I have a question related that. Whenever
Okay.
we create a new playground, we need to change password, right? Is it compulsory to do that and note it down?
No, I mean, the thing is with the trailhead thing, if you, I mean, let's say for if you want to log in, you need to have password. But whereas if you, let me get into trailhead. So there is an easy way to get into all this. Let's say you create 10 arcs. So in my case, I have a lot of arcs that I created.
Okay.
And the way you simply log into any arc that you created, I mean, this is only applied for the trailhead arcs, not to the ones that we created for this class. You can't link that one. So if you see here, there are multiple ones that I created, and there are about 16 arcs that I created. So simply when I want to launch, okay, let's say I did some work in this one. Let's say I want to launch, potentially I simply click on this guy, and I can get into that arc. I don't need to remember any password. And most of the time to get into this guy, so you may have set up already Google single sign-on one. I think Salesforce must have asked you, I mean, if you are using Google email,
Yeah.
so you should have been, I mean, don't need to remember even the password of this thing, the trailhead. So the Google single sign-on would come in handy, and that will let you in. Once you are in, so when all these arcs, you simply can launch from here.
Yeah. Today, while doing the challenge, I got that question. They asked
Yeah.
for the
And
internet.
sometimes you need password. I mean, there, let's say once you get in, if you want to have password, I mean, this is a little tricky one. I mean, if you are already know, that is good. But if not, I mean, now we came in here, so we need to reset password. So let's say if we go to user record, typically, I mean, if I have my name here, if I go in here, so it gives me an option to change password. But when I hit change password, it asks me for my current password. So
Yes.
we don't know. That's why, I mean, the way you do it, you go to users. Instead of, I mean, here you select your user and you say reset password. Then it will send you an email. This time you don't need to know your password. So you already launched your arc through the trailhead, and you can simply reset password from here without knowing your password. That's, I mean, it took some time for me to figure out that, but this, I mean, this is how you reset password. And there are some extensions like this one. I mean, force.com logins. I mean, these are some things that came handy initially for me. I think this one is a free Google Chrome extension. It will allow you to save at least 10 arcs passwords. You can save it here. I mean, here you have these options. For you, it is going to be production or developer edition. You select that guy and you enter the details, and you can save it. And next time when you want to launch it, potentially you simply click on that guy, it will let you get in. And if you are a developer, and potentially you can have as many arcs as you want, and you can simply launch any arc. So let's say if I want to launch any of these guys, all I have to do is from the CLI select it, and it will basically uh, launch it for me. So there are different ways to launch arcs, but I mean, for you to start, if it is trailhead arc, so remember, you can go in here, hands-on arcs, and you can simply launch.
Okay.
What was that force.com logins? Like, is that a plugin or?
Yeah,
what did
it is a Chrome plugin, so you can install, and basically you can save passwords. And once you save password, you have to simply click on that one, and that will log you in for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of last pass kind of thing.
Mhm.
I mean, there may be quite a lot these kind of things. I mean, I also save my passwords on LastPass, and it was easy for me to launch it from there on.
Mhm.
Yeah, but see,
Can I connect this out to my playground, to my
no, I mean, if you try, basically it will throw an error. I mean, here if you try to connect, and I tried to connect this arc, and immediately it will throw an error saying it is not supported thing. So here you see this guy. It won't let me connect because it is going to be expired to org anyway in 45 days. I mean, remember, we are going to lose this work. I mean, there are ways to save for the metadata that we did, but be prepared to lose whatever you have done uh, because that is a temporary arc. Yeah, so I will look for that the mobile issue. I mean, I haven't seen that before. Deepti, keep an email, eye on your email or phone, however you set up.
yeah.
And Salesforce would reach out, and once you know answer, please share it with everybody.
Yeah, sure. I will do that.
And, yeah, I think we can end the call today, so we can meet again on Sunday.
Thank you, Shrikant.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, bye all.